Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. It is Christian here, and you are tuned in for more of my 2 cents. If you are new to the channel, then welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am happy to have you over here for some thought-provoking conversation, dialogue, and discussion because it's going to be a great one today because it's going to be very, very personal for me, which goes into a broader topic of what would you do if it was you. But before we get there, I want you to know what to expect from this channel. The My Two Cents platform in space is somewhere where we dive deep into the realms of religion and deconstruction. All right. So if you're joining me, I hope you're ready to go along on this thought provoking journey as we explore the intricacies of belief systems, challenge conventional thinking, and unravel the layers of faith, doubt, and discovery. Now, through open discussions and insightful explorations, we'll navigate the complexities of deconstruction in various religious contexts. And this is a place, a safe space. Okay, I cannot stress that enough. No judgment, no anger, no bitterness, no resentment, no strife, no none of that can thrive over here. Okay, this is a peaceful, safe space for reflection, growth, and understanding. So, whether you're questioning, seeking, or simply curious, this channel is just for you because we're exploring the intersections of spirituality and self-discussion. So let's embark upon this transformative journey together and get into these 3 points that matter most before I start any discussion. Number one, you're not alone. Number two, you're not crazy. And number three, God, your creator, so loves you, and I do too. Now, today's topic is one that is going to be, ooh, child, treading on thin ice, okay? Because I got to make sure that I don't give too much away. I'm trying to allow people to have um, some anonymity. Is that the word? Like, I want them to remain anonymous, so I won't like give relational status or connection. Because I just want to preserve some people's I, reputation for whatever reason. I mean, I thought I didn't care, but obviously I do. So I'm not going to say exactly who this person is in relation to me, but just know that this person is really near and dear to me, and I love them. I respect them. But baby, lines have been crossed when it comes to my religious beliefs, my spiritual practices, and I want to share this experience because I think that it is imperative that as we are navigating deconstruction and we're determining what that looks like for us as we're removing certain belief systems and rebuilding new belief systems, that we don't, try to safeguard and protect other people in the process of having our own new understanding in relationship with whoever our source, creator, God, higher power or being might be. And so that's something that definitely has been, heavy on me over the last couple of weeks because I encountered someone that I know personally and have been, pretty fortunate, I would say, to do life with, to attempt to indoctrinate my children. Okay. Now, I don't know, I don't know. I got some notes, y'all, because I'm going to try to stay focused here to get y'all out of service, okay, in a timely fashion. But I cannot guarantee that I will do that. Before I go too far, welcome back to my 2 centers. I am so glad to have y'all. Y'all are holding it down. We have reached 1,500 subscribers. Woo woo! Your girl is excited. I opened my app a couple of days ago and was like, "What? We at 1,500?" I know some of you may be like, "Girl, that's not a lot," but it is. It is a lot. Okay, I am so proud of us over here in the My 2 Cents community because, I've been pumping out the videos, y'all. I have over 300 videos, I think, 200 or 300 videos. And I know that given the YouTube algorithm, my content might not be like the most palpable, popular content. Maybe if I was trashing pastors and Christian celebrities and gossiping all the time, that would work. But I feel like I give a pretty good balanced um, perspective on how I feel about church, religion, um, deconstruction in my journey alone, amongst other things. And so it's okay. We're growing at the pace that we're meant to, but I don't know, y'all. I'm about to really get into my manifestation bag on this channel. And I really do want it to grow. I want it to thrive. And I want this message and word to get out to more people because there are so many people deciding to leave the indoctrination that they were, born into or raised up in, and getting to know their creator, their savior, like I said, higher power or source for themselves. And I champion that 1000%. So let's go ahead and get into today's conversation. I want to give a definition for what it is or what indoctrination means so that we're all on the same page, because y'all know if I don't do nothing else, I'm going to give y'all a definition because it is importante that y'all understand what I'm talking about. All right, so indoctrination is the process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. Now, that word uncritically matters here because that means to not have any pushback, to not have any feedback, to not have any clapback, to not have any rebuttal. Don't refute it. Don't say nothing. Okay? I'm teaching you this, and you're going to accept this set of beliefs. All right? Okay. So when you're teaching and instructing someone, specifically someone that's not really familiar with what you're teaching and what you're indoctrinating them on, you kind of can take precedence of what they have usually felt or thought about something, or their ignorance on the matter all, together. Like if I've never heard of or taught, oh, I got something. I got a great example of indoctrination. So usually you hear this in the religious term and form, but this also can happen politically, right? This can also happen in work environments, certain indoctrination about HR, what your role is, what you're expected to do, how to carry yourself, how to protect the brand or the company, the corporation, their assets and their information. There are a lot of different ways you can experience indoctrination. It's simply the process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. All right. You can do this in prison, brainwash people to think that they can't go against, certain forms of punishment or certain forms of survival so that they do what you want them to do. This also happens in the street. All right. The gangs, indoctrination. People who believe that there's a certain way to live and move and engage with others, they vie by that. They live and they stand on their business. Okay, BIDNESS, business. All right. Um, so I wanted to give you the definition of what it is, to be indoctrinated, what that means. And now I want to go ahead and share my experience here because it is so, I don't know, it's like unbelievable that it would even happen to me, but I should not have expected anything less. So recently we had someone to visit us and spend some time with us for a while, and it was cool, like it was what it was supposed to be, right? But in that process, they spent some time with our children, grew to love them, admire them, just want to eat them up with a spoon, child. Okay, if they could have took them, they would have. All right, they would have raptured my children up if they could have. And I'm not talking about the rapture of love. Shout out to Anita Baker. They were just enamored by the purity and um, the openness, the kindness, the sweetness, everything that children usually exemplify. They loved it. They were here for it. They wanted to be like just drenched in it all day. And I'm okay with that because I know the kind of environment that my husband and I have created in our home and the community or the tribe that we have of people around us and our children. Our kids don't have to filter who they are because of who's around, because we don't have them around a lot of people. So if they're around anyone, they don't immediately trust them, but they can discern whether or not this is a person I can really be myself with, play with, engage with, talk to, all of the things. And so they felt like this person was a safe person, as they should have, right? But when it comes to the religious, spiritual side of things, it was something I didn't know that I should have been watching out for. You know how you have people who prey and groom children, predators. I don't think about those kind of things around the few people we have our kids around because of who I only have around my children. Well, in this instance, I didn't think I needed to safeguard my children from spiritual, well, not spiritual, but religious grooming. Okay, so you got indoctrination, but you also have religious grooming that happens where you're planting seeds and you're saying things that go against what my husband and I teach in our household and how we're grounding and setting the foundation for the principles, the values, and beliefs that our children will uphold and practice. to be completely honest with you, there are really no religious beliefs that we are teaching our children, because I do not think, and I've said this before in videos, it is fair to introduce religious beliefs to children who do not know how to write in cursive, write full sentences, explain why they probably did something that wasn't favorable 5 minutes ago, right? Painted on the wall, drew on the wall, wrote on the carpet, ate candy, ate all the candy when they weren't supposed to, wasted milk. Like, when you think of the things that children normally cannot process, and by children, I mean anyone younger than 16. That's what I'm talking about. Because you even have some 15, some 14, some 13, 12, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. You got some kids that they're big in body. They look mature in body, but they're very immature and underdeveloped mentally. And you throwing religious beliefs at them, you throwing principles and stories of the Red Sea parting, you throwing stories of Satan being cast out of heaven and sent to hell. You start rolling out stories of the plagues and locusts coming up on the earth. You start sharing all of these stories, and before you know it, you have literally wiped away the innocence of a child. And I'm not here for it. I wish it hadn't have been done to me, but it was. So now we're here with my 2 cents, working through the deconstruction process. So when you think of indoctrination, based off of the definition that I gave, and you think about the innocence and the purity of children, and when they normally start to become aware of right and wrong, that's whenever you start instilling in them that there are certain things they should not be doing, there are certain ways they should not be acting. When you introduce religion, you don't just set the regular tone for, no, Sally, we don't hit. We tell if we're angry, or we express ourselves if we're frustrated, right? No, John, we don't bite, right? Now, I don't know what the solution may be for little Johnny, but he better keep his teeth to himself. But my point is, you in those instances of child rearing, you naturally are able to teach those values and those principles and instill them for character and integrity, because you're raising a human, okay? The end. You're not raising a pastor, you're not raising an evangelist, you're not raising a prophet, you're raising a person. So even though you may have your beliefs, that does not mean that their life now has to be molded based off of your choices. It doesn't mean that their growth as a child has to be stunted or suppressed because you want them to be a little Peter Popoff, because you want them to be a little Bill Winston, because you want them to be a little, what's this, Creflo Dollar. Stop. A little Jesse Duplantis. No. A little Kenneth Copeland. Get back. A little Jamal Bryant. I say, I dare you. You better not. Like, you want these things because you chose this, but they didn't. And so that's what I was literally witnessing happen during this visit from someone that we had. And I didn't know at first, I didn't know that they had been hosting like these, I don't want to call them Bible studies, but they were Bible studies. They were little pockets of sessions where biblical principles and stories and theologies were being shared with my 6 and 9-year-old. Very impressionable, very influential. I mean, like, easily influenced. And I didn't know until the person told me they'd done it. They didn't think anything was wrong with what they shared with my children. So they were telling me what they shared with my children and how excited my children were and how bright their eyes lit up when they were hearing some of this stuff and the questions that they were asking. And then this person was like, I think that this is a sign, like, you guys need to get in church. You know, they want to know more. They're hungry. I could just see it. And it just made my heart so happy, because I was like, oh, God, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be teaching the babies. And I'm like, no, back it up, break it down. What? No, you're not supposed to be teaching the babies, not mine. Because I personally feel like it's overstepping boundaries when you begin to give someone something that A, they did not ask for, and B, they're not ready to receive. And I feel like even if you are a spiritual or religious person, the gift of discernment is lacking. Critical thinking is lacking right now all across the world, but discernment is as well amongst believers. And I'm saying that so loosely, but even amongst believers, discernment is vacant, it's void, it ain't there. Okay. And so for me, I'm like, you couldn't tell that they hadn't heard this stuff, or maybe you could, but you were just so excited because you were the first one to get to download it that you just got so overwhelmed and wanted to keep going and keep sharing and keep speaking and keep saying the things that you knew they had never been exposed to. And in that moment, I didn't say anything to them, but I immediately felt as if though a piece of my children's innocence had been stolen. That's what I felt like. I low key felt like I had pretty much exposed my children to inappropriate videos. Use your imagination. I feel like I had exposed my children to someone that meant them harm from the beginning, but they cloaked themselves so well that I would have never thought that they were capable of doing that. I almost felt like I had failed them by not protecting them from this instance because I thought that my husband and I were doing a good job with not indoctrinating them and forcing beliefs that we were forced into onto them, only to find out that somebody else is always waiting to do what they think you're failing at doing. And that shit is deep. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And the thing about it is that when you're not presenting it, when it's not presented to educate, but it's presented to dominate, it's presented to isolate certain behaviors, is presented to bring judgment, is presented to bring a form of brainwashing, or to make someone feel as if though, oh, I gotta watch every little thing. This is a sin. My children have never heard that word before. I've never used the word sin with them. Never. I've never said God would not be pleased with that. You should listen to mom and dad because the children's, honor thy mother and father, or your days will be short on the earth. Whatever scripture. I've never used that stuff to corral my children's behavior. There's no need to make correlations with Bible words and just regular words of discipline. I don't have to say one in order to get this kind of reaction out of you. That to me is manipulation. If I introduce this character that is a savior that created us, and it starts out beautiful when you share the story of Adam and Eve, and quickly that story takes a very wild turn from all the work that God did in 7 days in creating all of this, and then the two MFers he made turned on him, ate a piece of fruit. Now you done made fruit bad to the kids. Now you done made a garden bad, and now you done made snakes bad. Even though we probably already got a little phobia of snakes, right? Just as humans, telling these stories immediately begin to sow seeds of fear. They immediately start to sow seeds of disappointment and disgust from your creator for you because he's watching everything. Then you immediately introduce the thought process and the belief that women, right, are innately manipulative and conniving because Eve brought that apple to Adam. Adam knew better, but his wife told him and he did it, right? And then immediately after that, punishment. Immediately after that, judgment falls. And then it's passed down what their sentence will be for life and what every woman will go through every time she gives birth and every month because of her wrong, because of her sin. Now you done told my 6 and 9-year-old this. Now I don't know if this story specifically was shared, but this is just the beginning of how scripture starts, y'all. And you get these stories, and what is meant to be, I guess, the opposite of a Disney fairy tale ends up being not happy ever after. You don't start at the end of your story with joy. You start the story with something that seems promising, like God loved Job, God loved Daniel, God loved David. He was his chosen. It starts like that, but then some of these stories turn very sinister, you all. Like, are we thinking about the same things? It never has a good outcome for these people. that God loved and chose. It never goes well to be the chosen. It never goes well to be loved. It always goes wrong according to their beliefs. So to me, the introduction, which I am currently only aware of, I have not really tried to dive deeper into what all they may have discussed, but the core conversation that mattered the most to me and was the most disturbing and hurtful was knowing that they were told about the devil. I do not, 0 out of 10, do not recommend. I do not recommend anyone make their children, innocent children, aware of Satan, the enemy, the devil. There's no need for it in their young lives. There are enough things for children to navigate emotionally that they can't really express or explain, deny, or block. But when you introduce a character that is evil, that is only out to hurt you and harm you, seek to, you know, end you and corrupt you, what do you think that does to a person who's never heard of that kind of character, but now they're looking for that in every experience in their lives? Now they're aware of something that really they can't even conjure up on their own. You introduced a character that was not even necessary. Now, of course, in movies and even in cartoons, you have a villain, but that's just on TV. Imagine telling someone, no, in real life, there's really someone out seeking to devour you. There's really someone out here fighting for your soul. There's really someone out here waiting for you to slip up and fall so they can pull you into the fiery pits. What? Yeah. Mama didn't tell me that. She did not tell me that while she was singing Roll, Roll, Roll Your Boat. She did not tell me that before she played Gracie's Corner this morning. It's a problem. So now the protection that some people will say, well, you can't shield your children from everything. Yeah, no, you can't. But you for damn sure can protect them from thinking that beings that have majority of adults shook right now, confused on whether it's their own choices or the trick of the enemy coming against them. People right now are struggling to really decipher what is their fault and what is a, supernatural evil power, which they shouldn't be struggling with that, but they are. Because conversations like this was had with them before they were able to decipher and determine if they even wanted that to be a belief that they held. It's not fair. So, of course, after I became aware of this, I talked to my husband about it, and to my surprise, he knew that, something of this effect had been discussed, and that this was going on, but I guess he just didn't think to mention it to me at the time. And so we were talking about it, and he had a conversation with the children about what they had been told, um, about the devil. And then I had a conversation with my daughter, and I'm going to tell you just how innocent children are, right? So you can tell them something that they've never heard before, and they'll just start repeating it and accepting it as the truth from right then. Like I told my daughter a couple of months ago, she asked me, how old did she have to be to get married? She said, can I get married at 16? I said, no. And she was like, what about 18? I said, yes, you'll be a young adult. You would have graduated high school. You are more than welcome to get married at 18. And so I said, me and your father got married at 21. Y'all, when I tell y'all from that day to this one, my daughter has been saying it on repeat like a broken record. So I'm getting married at 18, and I'm going to have a family, and I'm going to get a job, and we're going to live close to mom and dad. So when I go to work, they can watch my children. Like, that's ingrained in her 6-year-old brain because she asked a question, she got some clarification, and now that is a belief for her. 18 is the age to get it popping. And I'm okay if she's okay with getting married at 18. I mean, like, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, it's being careful with what you tell children, because they don't have anything else to compare it to. So they don't go ask for a second opinion from someone. Whatever you have introduced, if they trust you, you have become the source of that information. You've opened the gate for that information, and they're going to believe that information from your mouth. And always remember where it came from. It's never unclear in our house who said what, because they remember. Okay? Like the 21st day of September. Shout out to Earth, Wind, and Fire. They remember. They really do. So for me, I immediately was thinking to myself, okay, like, how do I undo this without freaking out and then making them freak out too? Like, I don't want to be one of those parents, like, whatever they told you was a lie. Don't listen to them. They were wrong. And I better not hear you say it again. I didn't want to do that because even in my understanding psychologically, I know that when you do stuff like that, you push people further from you. Like I've said before, can you imagine someone just running up to you and saying, "Help me. Oh my goodness, they're after me. They're after me. Let me in, please." That's going to alarm you. The way that you approach is everything for how the mind processes what's trying to be conveyed and whether or not it's something that is to be trusted. So I didn't want to go in hard. I was like, okay, this is a 6 year old and a 9 year old. I got to make a clean land. Can't over, explain it or express it. Can't make this person look bad because they like and trust them. So I have to be cognizant and make sure that me and their father's voice is still the one that stands firm and it's the one that is trusted in their lives. And so, I just used a really simple analogy with my daughter. She understood it. I had her answer some questions, like, what would you, say if someone, like, do you believe that you're beautiful? And she was like, yes. And I was like, okay, so what if someone told you that you weren't? And she said they would be lying. And I'm like, yes, that is correct. So just because someone else may not believe that you're beautiful and they may say that you're not, that doesn't mean you have to believe it. That's their feelings, not yours. So, what this person has told you about the devil, that's not true. That's not something you have to believe. They can believe in it if they want to, but you don't have to believe in that. You don't have to think about that. You don't have to be afraid of that. You don't have to dwell on that. You don't have to talk about it ever again because we won't, just like we haven't, okay? And she was like, okay, but I still believe in God. I said, that's totally fine if you believe in God, but you do not have to believe in the devil. It's not real. It's not happening unless you create an experience, okay? That connects you to that. Like, that's just the truth. At least for us, it is. I can't speak for what everybody else out here, believes. But as for me and my house, we are not creating demons to fight. We are not wrestling against them on any day of the week. It's just not happening for me. And so, she just went on about her day on her iPad, unbothered. We have not had another conversation about it from then to now. Same with my son. My husband talked to both of them. And we're standing firm on our belief and on our word because honestly, that is what stands. I cannot imagine the psychological abuse or the heaviness or the weight of a child trying to process what evil is. There was actually a comment the other day on one of my YouTube videos. I'm going to find it because I'm going to read it. This person hit the nail on the head. They commented on one of my on a video that I did on why is Black church culture toxic. And they commented, and this is what one of the paragraphs literally said. And I thought it was, great. Let's see, let's see, let's see. It was full of wisdom. It was a long comment. But when I saw this, I was like, ooh, this is exactly what I just experienced. Okay, so they said, you know how evil is created? You take an innocent child and introduce the devil to them. That is what the church is doing. It destroys innocence because we are born without the knowledge of such ugliness. That is exactly what my husband and I have been talking about. And to have this comment made on my video a week or two later, it's like, yes, this is exactly how you introduce and you tarnish the innocence of children. You introduce a character, you introduce an energy to them that they did not know. You introduce a possibility of something wanting to hurt them or harm them. You open them up to that. You expose them to it, and then you expect them to live their lives fighting it. Do you know how disgusting that is? I would do all of the shadow work there is to work backwards to my childhood to unlearn what I was taught. Because it has not served me at any point, y'all. There is no reason why, even if you are a believer and you're still a Christian, that's totally up to you. But there's no reason why Satan has to exist in a religion where love is supposed to be the answer. Why can love not just be the one and only principle and value and belief that you practice and hold on to? Satan is a created version of the hell that you're going to experience here, right now. And that is allegedly happening in everyday life, on your health. You're being attacked by the enemy in your health, in your body. You're being attacked by the enemy on your job. You're being attacked by the enemy by your family and your children and your spouse, in your mind, in your finances. The enemy cares about all of that stuff. But I chose God. Why is that grace not sufficient? Why is the grace only sufficient enough when I pray, roll around, speak in tongues, jump up and down, pay my tithes and offering, and show up on time for service? That's the only time grace is extended and sufficient enough for me against the wiles of the enemy? You've done this to a child who does not have a choice in how they regulate the thoughts of what Satan is. It's not fair. It's not right. I wouldn't have it. I had to step in immediately, and that is what you should do. You should step in immediately. You should assess the situation, ask questions. What were you told? What do you think about that? Okay, I get it. Well, we don't believe that. We don't practice that. We don't, accept that as truth, and that's not really happening. It's not happening now, and it's not going to happen to you ever. Because I can tell you right now, something that you don't consider isn't something that you'll ever have to consider. You know what I'm saying? Like when people tell you something new for the first time, and they tell you maybe something about insurance, right? Or maybe they'll tell you something about a certain cleaner, or a certain fabric, or a certain app or technology. And you're like, oh my, I never thought about that. I never considered that, because you didn't have to. Do you know how many people I talk to that have never heard of some of the things that I have to do as a manufacturer? They don't think of it. It's not anything that benefits them. So they don't focus on it. They don't research it. Nobody's researching, blenders. Nobody's researching machines that can mill flour and, all of this other stuff. Nobody's looking up logistics and freight if they're not shipping things by the pallet and the truckload, because that's not something that you would ever need to do unless you were channeling and aligning and working and preparing and launching something that requires it. Why would I introduce Satan to my children if that's not something they're going to have to fight? You will possibly come in contact with people who have problems, that do bad, evil, wrong things, but that don't make them the enemy. That just makes them a person that doesn't know how to treat people right, that doesn't have good sense, that doesn't want to be a lawful, respectful, integral human. So I'd rather teach you how to deal with real people with real problems versus figments of your imagination that create situations that you're constantly trying to will and mill your way out of. And it's not fair. The battle of the mind, the mind is the battlefield for most believers. And yes, us everyday people too, but majority by and large, the mind. They're being attacked by the enemy in their mind because they're always taking in and trying to fight and rebuke the enemy and cast down this stuff. You're not bringing that over here. Now, we're not going to be casting down nothing 7 days a week. I'm not having it. 24/7, we not on that mission. So it's important to assess, to ask questions, you know, determine the extent of the information shared or the indoctrination that has been imposed. And, from there, you just communicate. You have to communicate. And so I have not gotten to that part of this thing. That's why I'm like, this is so fresh, like for me to be recording about. But I haven't talked to, the individual that, decided they were going to tell my children what they felt like they should know. And I don't know if I will, to be honest. I've seen some things online about people going no contact with loved ones, with friends, with parents who, were upset that they didn't baptize their children, or were upset, because they didn't christen their children. And the parent took their child out of their will, and refused to attend the birthday party, because they're like, you can't have a birthday party before you christen them. You can't have a birthday party before you baptize them. And who said that? You did. If me and my husband not doing that, how you gonna get mad because we not doing that? Again, I don't understand how parents can be upset, or anyone for that matter, who indoctrinates someone, especially on a religious from a religious standpoint. How do you get upset that you gave someone something that they didn't choose, and then they grow up and choose, they don't decide, they don't want it anymore, they don't want to believe it, they don't want to practice it, they don't want to accept it as their reality or their truth, and you're upset about that? Like, how dare you give away my religion? It wasn't mine in the beginning. You picked it. I just had to fool around with you because you was my parent. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do none of this. I didn't want to go to none of the services, the tent revivals, the conventions, the conferences. I didn't want to tarry on the altar. I didn't want to sleep on the floor during shut-ins. I didn't want to do any of this stuff. I didn't want to be a part of the youth group and the junior choir and Easter Sunday programs with speeches. You wanted that. I'm an adult now. I don't want it. Here you go. You can have that back. But they're upset. So it's something to really, be mindful of. And I don't know what this looks like for other people, if you've ever experienced that, where you have someone to overstep your beliefs or to really just overstep boundaries. Um, for you, it can be your children or you, and they just feel like their sole mission and purpose is to save you, is to keep you from going to hell, is to share the good news and to get you to give your life over. And it's like, y'all really don't realize y'all are the Jehovah's Witnesses with the lights on and the front door open. We weren't running, y'all was running and hiding from Jehovah's Witnesses growing up. I remember having to turn the light off and diving on the floor, like, don't move until they leave that front door. But now, modern day, present day, Christians are pretty much like they're out. They are not walking around with pamphlets, soul winning, knocking at doors. They're just everywhere trying to recruit whosoever will listen to them. And I don't think it's a bad thing if you have beliefs that you want to share, but I think that it is a huge problem when you choose to implant and sow, seeds that can really be destructive and disruptive to the peace and the creativity and the joy of a child. Um, I don't like it. 0 stars, do not recommend it. I think what was even more crazy was the fact that this person knows my husband and I don't go to church. They know our stance on the church. They understand, well, I don't know if they understand, but they know why. They know when, they know how long we've been, separated from that belief system. So I feel like it really was sneaky. I feel like it was intentionally sneaky to try to, you know, get something in. Like, I'm finna tell them the good news of the gospel, or the opposite rather. Because I'm like, dang, why not share the stories of love, of goodness, of multiplying the fish? Like, share some magical stories. Why we gotta start here with Satan? Why we gotta start here with the enemy and God fighting, and what God's gonna do to come back and defeat the enemy and take his children back? And why? It's too much. It's too much for me as a 36-year-old to conceive sometimes, that people are walking around saying this stuff out their mouths and won't, and upset that you don't. But then y'all want to ban and boycott Disney. You all are out here selling fairy tales too. You're just not making the same amount of money that Disney is. But I digress. So I think it's important that we understand what indoctrination is, understand what the different forms of that is, what that looks like, setting clear boundaries, communicating with these people that you have around you, what that looks like for your family, for yourself, for your friends, and strategizing. Like, if you want to talk to me about your beliefs, please be open to my rebuttals. Please be open to my questions. And I want you to not answer me back with scripture. I need you to have some other kind of foundational, ground to stand on that doesn't throw something back at me that I don't believe in or practice. You cannot stand in front of me with a book of information that you created and that you believe in, but I don't. It only works if I do believe it. If you continue to talk about it to me and use it against me, it doesn't work, because I'm not accepting it as the standard. I'm not accepting it as the principle and the source, of all wisdom, knowledge, light, and truth. So we need to find equal footing and ground of respect and boundaries. So it's really, a sense of life experience, personal respect and development and growth, and opportunities to just expand your mind and allow people in your space. But high alert, be on high alert, y'all, because folks out here doing all of the things to get their word out, and it is concerning. But I'll continue to just assess where we are. If there's any conversation or more questions about it in the future, I don't think there will be, because this was a very short amount of time that they spent with this person. But the long term effects can be real if they question more. And I do not have a problem if my children grow up and become Christians or Pentecostal or Baptist or Lutheran. I don't care what they choose to do, Buddhist, Muslims, I don't care, because it's not my choice. It's not my choice to pick their belief. It's my choice to make sure that they are whole, happy, healed, well, integral adults. They're in small bodies now, but they're going to get big real soon. They're actually getting bigger every day. It seems like I'm pretty much growing chia pets. They're always sprouting. So I want to do that in the best way possible. My husband and I do. And um, the best way to do that is to teach with great experience, with unconditional love, with support, with kindness, demonstrating that, and not trying to indoctrinate that from what we believe would be best for them, but what they get to choose from the life that we present them with, how they move forward and how they treat other people in this world. So yeah, y'all, I just wanted to share that. I don't know, what would you do if you had someone that tried to indoctrinate you or your children? Have you ever done this and thought that you were in the right? Do you think this person was in the right to share their beliefs with children, or not? And what do you think I should do as far as approaching it? Should I just leave it alone since they won't be around anytime soon again? Or should I address it and let them know that Courtney and I were not happy about it? Because my husband was hot. I just want to let y'all know. He was fish grease popping. Like really angry. And I wasn't angry, I was more hurt than anything, because it felt like, I said earlier, it felt like exposure to something wildly inappropriate. I felt as if though I hadn't protected them, enough. So I'm working through that now, and I am going to continue to be on high alert from here on out with who they're with and what those people decide they want to share, because you're gonna have to run it through me, honey. Okay, run it through me, I'll run it through these hands. Rated E for everyone. All right. Hopefully y'all have enjoyed this video. Comment below. Let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear from you guys. If you have any more questions, if you have any questions or topics that you would like me to cover or talk about, please let me know. And you can send those to me via email at my2cent matters with an S. That's my2cent matters@gmail.com. I will read those and get back to you here on YouTube. So like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I would love to add you to my 2 cents crew. Until next time, I will catch y'all in the next video. Bye.